It's Thursday, and you know what time it is. We're talking two-start pitchers and streaming options next.
It's about that time.
Stoned on Sports.
What's going on, everybody? You are tuned in to Stoned on Sports Fantasy Baseball here on this awesome Thursday evening. My name is Matt. You can find me on X at SOSP_Matt. Got the awesome co-host Kyle here with me today as well. And we are absolutely thrilled to be bringing you another Thursday episode of Pitching Options. Kyle, how the hell you doing, buddy?
Doing great. It's freaking hot, man. I'm getting kind of tired. Getting kind of tired of this heat. Ready for a little bit of a break, but I'll take it over winter any damn day. All right.
One of us.
All right. So we got to ask that question. To start or not to start? We are going to start with a rookie, Spencer Schwellenbach from the Atlanta Braves, 11% owned. He's got two starts next week, one at St. Louis, one at home versus the Pirates. He is the number 3 prospect in the Atlanta system. Dude made a rapid ascent. He began the year in high A ball, made his debut back on May 29th. He made his 4th start of the season just this past Tuesday, the 18th. And after a shaky first couple innings, he really started to settle down. He got the win in 6 innings pitched, allowed 3 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, and a career high 7 strikeouts. Got a second quality start in a row. You get points for those quality starts in point leagues, folks. On the year, he started 4 games. He's 1-2 and 21 2/3 innings pitched. He's got a 4.98 ERA and a 1.20 WHIP. And his FIP and his xFIP are about a 3/4 to a full run less than his ERA. So I really like that. I think he's just been getting a little unlucky there. Strikeout rates below average at just slightly over 20%. Walk rate 7.5, a bit above average right now. Average exit velocity is awesome at just 87.2 miles an hour, but weirdly, his hard hit rate is 42.2 in the bottom 25%. Why is that? Simple explanation. Batted balls with a very low exit velocity, think of something low like 20, 25 miles an hour, really have a much larger impact on exit velocity, kind of skewing your numbers down. Barrel rate so far, it's super awesome. I've not really seen one this low at just 1.6%. That's very good. It's very low, but no way in hell it stays that way. For a guy who's just 6'1", he has a pretty nice extension off the mound. You typically see that with taller pitchers. He must have extra large arms, which Matt cannot really relate to. A pitcher with great extension will make his 95 mile an hour fastball look more like 96, 97 mile an hour from the hitter's point of view. This guy has a wide array of offerings, a 95.6 mile an hour four-seamer, which he throws 27% of the time, a slider, a curve, a cutter, and a split finger and a sinker every once in a while. In a small sample size, this guy excels at getting hitters to swing and miss, above average whiff rate of 27.2. And that rate is really helped by his split finger that he tosses just to left-handed batters only, generating whiffs over 47%. Matt, you're looking real dark there, buddy. Where's your light? Chase rate, amazing. Almost 40%, tops in the league. And he does that with just some awesome movement with his slider, cutter, and his curve. Less than average ground ball rate, and does let hitters, pull too many line drives. Gets batters to swing at pitches in the zone more than MLB average, and allows less than average contact in or out of the strike zone. So while he's not, a must start while he's on the mound, next week offers some good matchups. Again, I mentioned at St. Louis and versus Pittsburgh. Those teams in the last 15 days, both are in the middle pack of home runs, runs scored, RBIs, and batting average, both in the bottom 8 in walks and on base percentage. Makes sense there. And both top 13, so top half of the league in strikeouts. The Pirates actually have the second most strikeouts right now in the last 15 days. And both teams are bottom 10 in OPS. I think this guy should really be rostered moving forward. I picked him up yesterday in the podcast league. But if you're desperate and you need somebody, he's a good option for 2 extra starts or for an extra start next week. Heck yeah. All right, next up, we're headed to Florida. This Rays pitcher just managed his second quality start, and in holy cow, his second quality start, and in 3 starts since June 8th, he's allowed just 3 earned runs or fewer over 18 frames. Matt, tell us more about Taj Bradley.
Taj friggin' Bradley. So this week he's got 2 starts at home against Seattle and also at home against Washington. And this dude, he's like the beautiful man or woman that you see and you're just mesmerized until you talk to them and find out that they have the personality of a grocery bag. Um, he's made 8 starts, 1 terrible, 1 bad, 5 very good, and 1 pretty good. Looking at the matchup, Seattle strikes out a lot and has some pop and a pretty good offense overall. They will draw a walk. Washington doesn't strike out or walk a lot. They don't really have a whole lot of power either, in terms of home runs or extra base hits, and they're pretty much a middling yet streaky offense. However, you've heard me say this before, and I'll continue to say it. Always be wary of teams that put the ball in play, especially against Taj Bradley. On the whole, he probably gets hit harder than anyone in the game. Among pitchers with 30 or more innings pitched, and that's 244 of them total, he's 7th worst in exit velocity, dead last in barrel rate, and his hard hit rate is in the bottom 20%. Overall contact, though, completely different story. He allows contact at just a 72.8% clip. That's in the top 20% of the league. His 80.3% zone contact rate is even better, and his outside the zone contact is a little bit better than average. His batted ball data tells us that he's more of a fly ball pitcher, but not heavily. He gets a decent amount of ground balls, and his line drive rate is a little bit better than average. He is getting pulled a lot less this season as well, at just over 30%. That's down 10 points from last year. We know why we're here with him, though, right? The strikeouts. Not counting yesterday's start, he's had 50 strikeouts and just 38 and a third innings pitched, and that's damn near a 32% rate, almost 12 per 9. I mean, that's just fan-friggin-tastic. He cut his walk rate by a point. It's now a little bit better than average, which that was a real big bugaboo for him last season. And he's got a sparkling 24% K minus walk rate. He still struggles with the long ball. Almost 2 per 9 is an absolute issue. But on the whole, you absolutely love the strikeout upside. There is a ton of swing and miss, especially with Seattle. Again, Washington, those teams that put the ball in play, man, it can be scary, but I'm going to run him out there with confidence next week, knowing he is going to run up the counting stats, especially with the strikeouts. And I'm absolutely thrilled to have him as part of the squad. Unfortunately, I didn't draft him this year and he's not available, but he's still available in plenty of leagues for all of you guys to pick up.
Heck yeah. And them strikeouts are the only reason he's probably 50% owned. Otherwise,
Sure,
it'd be a lot lower.
It is. And you got to remember too, like, this dude's just 23 years old.
Yeah.
He came up and got his first taste of the show last season. And, not everybody comes up and is Garrett Crochet, right?
This is true.
But he's still a damn good option, especially at his ownership.
Heck yeah.
So Cole Irvin might be on his 3rd team in 6 MLB seasons, but you could argue that he's having a career year so far. Kyle, why don't you tell us what's made the Baltimore Hurler a viable option this season?
Well, he's gotten better. So we talked about him actually 2 months ago, mid-April, and he was just 1% owned, and we were throwing him out there for 2-start pitcher options. Now he's 47% owned, and he's dual eligible. He's a lefty, 2 starts next week, both at home versus the Guardians and the Rangers. Listen, this guy's going to give up a bunch of hits, but he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs since April 10th. April 10th. It was like the second week of the season. That was a dozen starts ago for him. On the season, he's had 13 total appearances, 11 of them starts. He's 6-3. I like that record. The team context helps for sure. 68 innings pitched, ERA of 3.03, whip of 1.23. Won't get you many strikeouts with just a a rate shy of 18%, but won't hurt you on giving free passes. It's got an above average walk rate of just 4.6%. I like his line drive rate that is lower than MLB average, and it's really been helped out by an improvement in his ground ball rate of 42.3. It's made a nice 3.5% improvement over his career average this year. Remember, line drives, most of them end up as hits. He throws a lot of pitches, 6 of them, a very low velocity four-seamer, a curve, a sinker, a change, a cutter, and a slider a bit. None are really outstanding, I'd say, except for his changeup that he uses versus right-handed hitters only, generating whiff rates of almost 27% and a batting average against of just 167. You might say, Kyle, 27% whiff rate, it's really not that amazing. Well, it is when you consider his overall whiff rate is just 17.4% in the bottom 4% in the league. Chase rate, while better than his whiffs, is still below average at 26%. And you'd think a pitcher who throws low velocity, doesn't throw any gas, would induce more soft contact. You would be wrong in Irvin's case. Average exit velo, hard hit rate, and barrels are all in the bottom third worst among pitchers in the majors. I mentioned at the beginning of the segment, he allows a lot of hits. He's given up 25 hits in his last 17 2/3 innings in his last 3 starts. So, as you might imagine, he does allow a lot of contact. Some guys just pitch to contact. A lot of pitchers have been successful in that. Think Mark Burley, Greg Maddux, Kyle Hendricks, to name a few. And obviously some have been more successful in others in their careers. Contact allows 5% more than MLB average in contact in the strike zone and almost 6% more out of the zone. Another stat that really just screams pitch to contact. Remember, both starts I said are at home, Camden Yards, very much a pitcher's park now. On the year, Cleveland has the 9th best OPS of 748 versus left-handed, but Texas is much worse at 23rd in the league with an OPS of 659 against left-handed pitching. In the last 15 days, Texas and Cleveland are both in the bottom 10 in walks, in the bottom 4 in runs. Honestly, I'm betting on that Texas start to be, the bulk of his points for next week. So if you're in daily moves, maybe you consider just streaming him versus the Rangers only, but could be a good option for you to, since he's dual eligible, to get some extra starts in your relief spots. Heck yeah. Anything in the chat, sir?
Negative.
All right. Feel like we need to take a breather. All right. This 25-year-old left-handed Guardians pitcher has given up 3 runs or fewer in 5 of his last 6 outings, and he just picked up his 7th win this last week, which is tied for, I think, 4th in the majors. Matt, how can Logan Allen give fantasy managers a leg up next week?
Logan friggin' Allen. He's got those 2 road starts at Baltimore and at KC, and that marks 7 of 8 starts on the road and 6 straight, which is just ridiculous. The Orioles, they've been a top 10 offense with the most home runs over the past couple weeks. The Royals have been kind of middle of the road offensively over that same span with very little power. However, the Royals have scored the 2nd most points at home this season and have a 778 team OPS at home. Over his last 6 starts, Allen's 4-1 with a 3.86 ERA, struck out 24, walked 12 across 30 1/3 innings pitched. But there's one real shitty start in there. And if we take that out, this cat's 4-0 with 23 Ks, just 10 walks across 28 2/3. His season-long numbers are okay, and maybe that's being a little generous. He's got an ERA north of 5. His expected ERA and FIP are around there, and his xFIP is a run lower. And just as a refresher for everyone, xERA or expected ERA is xWOBA converted to the ERA scale. FIP removes defense and measures the 3 true outcomes, so walks, strikeouts, and home runs. And xFIP replaces a pitcher's personal home run to fly ball rate and replaces it with the league average home run to fly ball rate, which is around 10.5% ballpark. In Logan Allen's case, his home run to fly ball rate is about 6 points above league average. So that's why we see the disparity there between his FIP and his xFIP. He's striking out a little bit less than league average. His K per nine is down 1 from last season to 7.36, but that's still right around league average, actually. And his walk rate, about average. Quality of contact leaves a bit to be desired. He's bottom 10% in exit velocity and hard hit rate. Barrel rates in the bottom 20%. His overall contact, though, isn't terrible. He allows more than average, but he's still under 80% overall. His zone contact rate is the same, but well under 90%. And that's kind of the line where we want to see things. The dude is a fly ball pitcher that allows fewer line drives than average, which is nice because line drives have an expected average of around 700, meaning about 7 out of 10 line drives result in a hit. I think that's going to help him be successful, I guess, this week because of the ballparks. And look, I think this dude is just going through a little bit of a sophomore slump, which is not at all uncommon. Cleveland has shown, though, over the past decade and a half or more, that they're one of the best franchises in baseball at developing pitching. And Logan Allen last year showed us that he can be an above average pitcher. You know, everyone's career, it kind of has ebbs and flows and whatnot. And this is no different. But on the whole, I think he can be a viable fantasy asset. You just need to be mindful of when you run him out there.
I was just looking at some scores on my team, and Luis Heel finally came back down to earth today.
Who did?
Luis Heel only lasted 1 1/3 against Baltimore this afternoon. 8 hits, 2 walks, 1 K, 7 earned, and it got the loss. Negative 24 points. That's not expected for me. So anyway,
we got a new stoner in the house, MP31. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the show. We're happy to have you. As Kyle said, any questions that you have regarding roster construction, trades, lineup decisions, we're here and always happy to help. We pride ourselves on answering every single question that comes through this chat.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm done talking about Guardians players. Piss on them. Go Tigers. Next up, this former two-way player ditched the bat and became an all-star pitcher with a no-hitter to his credit. What has the Rangers' Michael Lorenzen done to make himself a viable yet possibly volatile play next week?
Volatile is definitely the right adjective for sure. But so both starts on the road. He's dual eligible. He's 31% owned. It's got to start at the Brewers and at the Orioles. So, you know, when that jumps off the page, you're like, but some things to like, right? Last start was on Tuesday versus the Mets. Didn't factor into the decision. Allowed 3 earned runs on 4 hits, 1 walk over 6, and struck out 3. But it was his 6th quality start in his last 7 outings. Since June 1st, he's fantasy pitcher number 53. That's a little bit better than I thought he'd be. On the year, 12 games started. He's 4-3 in 72 innings pitched. ERA is 3 flat, and the whip's pretty decent at 115. FIP and XFIP are higher than his ERA, and his BABIP is lower than league average. So suggest some combo of good luck and some good defense behind him this season in his starts. His strikeout rate's below average at 17.5%. I do expect this to improve a little bit this season. He is closer to 20% in his career. Perhaps it's because he is throwing first pitch strikes at the lowest rate since 2020 and almost 7% less than last season. Walk rate is below average as well. He's over 10%, and it's 3% worse than last season. Both the strikeout rate and walk rates are in the bottom 20% in the league. Has a decent fastball velo of 94, which is spot on with MLB average. Does get hit kind of hard with a below average hit rate, but keeps most of the velocity in check. His average exit velocity is just 88, puts him in the top third best among pitchers in the league. But does also an above average job of not allowing many barreled balls either. He's made a nice 0.5% improvement on that year over year. How is he at getting hitters to swing and miss? Not too good. Both whiff and chase rates are in the bottom third worst in the majors. And some of his pitches really drag down those rates, but he does have a couple offerings to get batters to whiff. His changeup that he tosses 20% of the time has a whiff rate of almost 32%. And his curveball is excellent with a 50% whiff rate. And both pitches have a batting average against just 143. It's pretty good. He's helped out by an above average ground ball rate, 44%. Which has really helped keep his line drive rate in check. He's below average at 21.6. Allows above average contact in the zone, but that's aligned with his career rate, so not too concerned. It's that contact that he's allowing out of the zone this year. It's almost 6% higher than MLB average and almost 4% higher than his career averages. So he's made year-over-year improvements on his batting average against WOBA, slugging, expected slugging. He's got the matchups against Milwaukee and Baltimore. In the last 15 days, Milwaukee has actually struggled. They've been 19th in runs, 25th in home runs, 23rd in ribbies, 20th in OPS, middle of the pack in strikeouts, but they have been good at drawing walks. Baltimore, they've been good. They've been pretty much good all season. So it's possible you just start him versus Milwaukee if you're looking to just stream one pitcher, in some daily leagues. I mentioned both starts are, at home. So those are Camden Yards. No, I'm in the wrong spot here. Holy cow. Both starts come in pitchers parks is what I meant to say. So you mentioned volatile. Look, his profile as a pitcher is fraught with risk. All right. His high walk rate, that low strikeout rate, combined with a history of underperforming metrics in the past, make him a challenging player to, trust. I get it. However, he's low owned for a reason. I'll take a guy that can eat some innings in point leagues and who I can insert in a relief roster spot to get some extra starts. And I'll give you an FYI for some leagues, Lorenzen, including the podcast league and Yahoo, since he was, a hitter in his past. So there's still two players for him, one for hitter, one for pitcher. Make sure you choose pitcher or you won't get any points. Or as Willy Wonka would like to say,
so you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
How do you really feel?
Exactly. So you could do worse than Lorenzen for sure. Got anything in the chat?
Yes. So let's see here. So we got MP31. He's in a 5 outfielder league. Who's a better pickup, Miguel Andujar, Tommy Pham, or Jared Kelenic? In my opinion, Kelenic just strikes out too damn much. I like the offense that he's in, but it just doesn't seem to be clicking with him. So in my mind, it comes down to Andujar and Tommy Pham. Both are on just pretty much equally shitty teams. I like Andujar's bat a little bit better than Tommy Pham, and he is the younger player. I know that Andujar absolutely refuses to take a walk. He's walking at something like a 2% clip, and so that 340 on base percentage is a little bit hollow considering he's got a 330 average. But I also think he can maintain an average close to 300. Because in the one full season where he was out there kicking ass and taking names for the Yankees, he hit in the high 90s. This is looking for the best of a few not so great options, but I think I'm going to roll with Andujar on that one.
Excellent. I think, did he have a follow-up question? Oh yeah, he lost Kyle Bradish. Hey, geez, that sucked for everybody. Looking at stashing a pitcher, Springs, Boz, or Robbie Ray, Matt?
Well, I'm going to eliminate Springs. He was solid for, a minute. He was really just a lot of hype, and he's an older pitcher coming off that injury. So it's going to come down to Shane Boz or Robbie Ray. Boz, we've not really seen a whole lot of in the show, but he's somebody who was an elite prospect. And Robbie Ray is a former Cy Young winner. So I'm cool with either of those options. I'm going to lean Robbie Ray just because he's in a bit of a better pitcher's park there. And I think the overall team context with the Giants is a bit better than Tampa.
It is. And I don't think I'd get your expectations up too high with Robbie Ray coming off TJ, right?
Yep.
So, we'll see. Usually pitchers need an extra year there for that, but great question, man. All right. Who else we got in here? Luis Correa. My roommate is desperate for pitching and a second baseman, and he has a God tier squad, God tier squad, in a
Yes.
12-team league. I received Tucker, and he gets Skeens and Hassan Kim. This is a trade.
Yes. I would do that, just depending on roster construction. We're kind of blind on this one. And I mentioned there in the chat that I love getting Kyle Tucker. He's having a career year. Skeens is legit. That dude is the truth. And Ha-Sung Kim is kind of streaky. I think you're getting the best overall player in the deal there,
Yeah.
but it's damn close because I think Skeens is a top 10 starter the rest of the way. But that's a move I would make.
Yeah, I think so. If you guys haven't liked or subscribed, really appreciate it. Here every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yep. We got
and
one more. Mr. Awaken Up. Can he drop Michael Garcia in an 18 points league? He wants to scoop up Wyatt Langford. Wyatt Langford is one of the most elite prospects there is. And Michael Garcia kind of came from out of nowhere earlier this season and was on fire. And he's cooled off a bit. I'll go ahead and endorse that move there.
Absolutely.
Good luck, friend. We got one more back.
Yep.
He's got some rookies available in his league. Should he keep an eye on any of these guys? Povich, Schwellenbach, or Drew Thorpe? Out of that group, I like Schwellenbach the best.
Yeah, we just talked about him at the top of the show.
We just talked about him. He's got some really good stuff. If I had to rank those, it'd be Schwellenbach, Povich, and then Drew Thorpe.
I agree. Great questions. Oops, sorry, man. Where are we at? All right. Next up. This 27-year-old knuckleballer just reeled off his 5th straight quality start yesterday versus the Phillies of all teams, and has allowed only 2 earned runs or less in 8 straight starts. Matt, tell us more about Matt Waldron.
Matt Waldron. So this dude is home against Washington and at Boston. And we just kind of touched on Washington and what that team is like. If there's been a hotter pitcher in the league, I don't know who in the hell it is. Since May 11th, he's 3-2 with 41 strikeouts, 10 walks, only 9 earned, with 1 home run allowed and 42 1/3 innings pitched. That is good for SP21 in that time. So, I mean, maybe there's some better pitchers out there and some dudes who have been doing a little bit better, but you get what I mean. Season long numbers look excellent as well. He's striking out just under a guy per inning, despite having a below average whiff and swinging strike rate. But he makes up for that with an incredibly healthy 18.5% called strike rate. Walk rate, well below league average at 7.2%. And his quality of contact is outstanding. Exit velocity and hard hit rate are in the top 15% of league. Barrel rate is in the top half. His overall contact is a bit high, but a little lower in the zone. I'm not really concerned because he induces a ton of weak contact. He's another pitcher that skews towards fly balls, but not really in an extreme way. His ground ball rate is a little below average, as is his line drive rate. And one thing you got to understand about knuckleballers is these dudes carry some risk just because of the nature of the pitch, right? That is a knuckleball is something that gets affected by, the wind and just, I mean, every pitch is affected by the release, but there's so much that goes into that just because there's no spin. He's somebody I'm going to ride him while he's hot, but understand the blow up potential is going to be there. A knuckleball that doesn't knuckle is just a batting practice fastball.
He's the only knuckler in the league right now, right?
I think so. I mean, pretty
I'm
much
talking true knuckler. I'm not talking,
Sure.
Just knuckle curves and things like that. The Wakefields of the league.
Yeah. Yep. He's the only primary knuckleballer out there.
Absolutely. All right.
So when you pitch in Boston, keeping the ball on the ground helps to ensure success. Brayan Bello does that as well as anybody. What else makes him a decent play next week?
So he's 49% rostered. Both starts are at home. Last start, yesterday, actually on the 19th. He earned the win against Toronto, allowed 2 earned runs on 7 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts over 6 innings. That's a quality start, folks. It's his first one, though, since May 22nd, and really his best performance this month in June, because he surrendered a total of 14 total runs over his first 3 outings in June. But since June 1st, he is fantasy starting pitcher number 57. It's not bad on the season. 13 games started. He's 7-4. I like the win total. 69 innings pitched. ERA is a little high at 4.83. WHIP is a bit high at 1.41. His xFIP is a full run less than his actual ERA, so I expect some improvement in the run department. Strikeout rates below average, but he has improved it 0.5% versus last year. And the walk rate of 8.6 is below average and 2% worse than last season. Tosses just 3 pitches: a sinker, a changeup, and a slider. The sinker is the one that has, is his dominant pitch with the most velocity. Throws it almost 96 miles an hour. And as you might expect, a heavy sinker pitcher, he has an excellent ground ball rate that Matt mentioned. It's 54.5%. That's a full 10% higher than MLB average, and he's been damn good at it in his 3 major league seasons. With the high ground ball rate, he allows less than average fly balls and line drive rates too. I like that, and I'm not surprised either with just a 5.4 degree launch angle. That's about 7% less than league average. Does a above average job of getting batters to chase, uses his slider very effectively. It's really his put away pitch. His whiff rate is 24.6. It's just a tad below league average. However, both his changeup and slider both generate whiffs above 33%. And his sinker whiff rate of just 10% kind of just pulls his overall whiff rate down. All right, hard hit rate. 41.7. It's pretty bad. It's in the bottom third worst pitchers in the league. Exit velocities a little bit better at 88.3 miles an hour. Allows average contact in the zone, but does allow more than average out of the zone, especially when watching some clips and some film today. When his slider doesn't hit the right location, he's effed. All right. So in the last 15 days, so his matchup is he has got a rematch against the Blue Jays next week. In the last 15 days, they're not been super great. 27th in home runs, 16th in runs, 22nd in batting average, 18th in on base percentage, and 27th in slugging. Now San Diego, they've been pretty good the last 15 days. 9th in runs, 3rd in home runs, 9th in RBIs, and 8th in OPS. I guess I'm not really concerned with Fenway and the way that it favors hitters. That this is this dude's home park. He knows how to pitch there, and especially with that elite ground ball rate, it's a nice match there with pitcher and stadium. He's got a lot of improvements to like this season. His pitch velocities are all up year over year. Expected stats of batting average and slugging are both improved from last year's too. He's a good ad for next week. If you're hurting and you need some extra starts because you got an opponent with 11 starts or 12 starts or something, you always want to panic and try and find some more quality starts. On the waivers.
For sure. So we got MP back in the chat. Wilson Contreras or Yainer Diaz. This one is a toughie. Contreras was having a career year before he got hurt, broke his arm on a catcher's interference call, and he was expected to miss 10 weeks. The dude is already out on a rehab assignment. They're going to want to see him catch a couple games before they bring him back.
Yeah.
But it's possible. I mean, he could be back here early next week. Diaz was kind of slumping for a good portion of the season, but here in June, he's really picked things up. And as a result, the past few days, he's actually been hitting cleanup for the team, and he's seen himself rise in that batting order. This one, I almost want to say flip a coin because they're both really kind of doing pretty well. I think I'm going to give the slight edge to Diaz because I think on paper, Houston is a better offense, even though they haven't always performed like it at times this year. And Houston is more of a hitter's park than Busch Stadium is.
Yeah.
But no, those are two really good options if you're hurting at catcher.
Good stuff. Good luck, man. All right. So, as is tradition here on the Stone on Sports podcast, if it's a Cardinals pitcher, Matt, it's usually always going to be stuck talking about them. After holding three of the best offenses in baseball, so Baltimore, Cincy, Philadelphia, to just one earned run in 16 innings, this Cardinals pitcher has struggled in his last three outings against less offensively talented teams like the Rockies, the Pirates, and the Marlins. What's up with Lance Lynn for next week, Matt?
Lance Lynn. This dude is like the modern day right-handed David Wells in a way because he's pushing 3 bills. He does have the 2 home starts against Atlanta and Cincinnati. Atlanta's starting to heat up a little bit, but still striking out a ton. Cincinnati starting to slump again, but they're keeping the strikeouts under control. Dude's season long numbers aren't bad, and they're about what we expected from him. Across 15 starts, he's 2-3 with a 4.08 ERA. His expected ERA and xFIP are in the same neighborhood. A 1.4 WHIP, 73 strikeouts, 30 walks, 9 home runs allowed, and 75 innings pitched. To me, his WHIP jumps out immediately, and it's driven by a high 9.2 hits per nine. That's 1 hit over his career average, but it's not really unexpected, kind of given his age and his physical condition. The dude's got lots of wear and tear on his body. Strikeout numbers aren't bad. I mean, he's just just a hair under a strikeout per inning with a decent whiff rate and an okay swinging strike rate. Chase rate isn't the greatest. It's in the bottom third, partially because he doesn't really get a lot of movement on any of his pitches. Outside of his slider, he gets a ton of vertical drop on that. One of the best in the league in that regard, as a matter of fact. His walks are a touch high, and we've seen that be a negative trend from him over the last several years. Looking at his quality of contact, a little bit to like there. His exit velocity and hard hit rate are about average, maybe a little bit better, but his barrel rate is a touch high, but not really a big cause for concern. His overall contact is around league average. He's at 78%. League average is 77. And that's kind of who he's been throughout his career. His zone contact rate is a little bit better than average. He's at what do we got here? 82%. League average is about 85.3. His outside the zone contact is worse by about 13 points. He's at 69.5%. League average is just over 56. To his credit, he's inducing weak contact at the best rate of his career, 6.5%. League average is 3.9.
Yeah.
Looking at his batted ball data, he's pretty much a league average guy across the board. Fly ball rates a little bit higher, but really no cause for concern. If these starts are on the road, I'd tell you to bench his ass. If he was in Atlanta and in Cincinnati, there ain't no way in hell I'm running him out there. But since they're at home, he's got a decent chance for at least a quality start this week and possibly more.
Heck yeah.
So Garrett Crochet is rightfully getting a ton of attention, but the Pale Hose have another rookie pitcher who's more than holding his own, and his name is Jonathan Cannon.
Yeah. I watched this cat pitch the other day, last week or whatever, and I was actually kind of impressed with him. So he doesn't have 2 starts, so this is just more of a stream. I'm looking for you to start him or consider starting him Friday the 28th at home versus Colorado. Dude's just 5% owned. Okay. So it's a risk, of course. He's the 11th prospect in the White Sox organization. And like most rookie pitchers, he is far from a finished product, right? He's taken some bumps since being called up by the White Sox this season, but he's shown some promising traits in his outings. Last start was on Tuesday. He shut out the Astros for 8 2/3. That's the game I was talking about. 8 2/3 innings pitch. He did allow 7 hits. He struck out 4, walked 1, got the win, and a quality start. He tried hanging in there for that last one, but he walked the guy before, and the manager pulled him. So, but he has gone at least 7 innings pitched in his last 2 starts on the year. He's appeared in 6 games, started 5 of them. He's 1-1 in 32 1/3 innings pitched. ERA's 3.34, whips 1.24. Strikeout rate is below average rate right now at 20.9. But the walk rate, dude barely walks anybody right now at 4.5%. But looking at some things, I really kind of think it's a mirage. It comes from throwing hittable sinkers in the zone, and his command right now is not as good as that walk rate might suggest. Quality of contact, average exit velo and hard hit rate are below average, but exceeds and not allowing hitters to barrel up his offerings with just a 6% barrel rate. It's a top 25% pitcher in the league. Generates just below average overall whiff rate of 23.8, but gets batters to chase almost 30% of the time. I really think that the chase and the whiff rates can get even better once he gets more miles on his arm there. For one, he gets batters to swing at pitches in the zone more frequently than league average. And he's really got a ton of upside here, especially with his breaking balls and specifically his sweeper. Unlike his other pitches, his command of his sweeper is freaking excellent. It has a whiff rate of over 30% with both batting average against and slugging of just 129. That's pretty good. And it really shows as well, just to drive it home, his breaking run value is 6. That puts him in the top 5% in the league in that regard. But his bread and butter pitch is really his sinker. He lives and dies by it and likely always will. And it helps him with an above average ground ball rate of 45%. Some problems with it. He also tends to let it creep up, from the bottom of the zone and towards the middle, which is he desperately needs to cut back on that. That is not where you want, any pitch to live as well. He does a good job of keeping down the fly balls and line drives, but he does allow more than average contact both in and out of the zone. He's got a busy windup. I don't know if you've had a chance to get a look at him, Matt. And I really think that's holding him back a little bit, especially his command. I think his command would improve a lot more if he kind of just simplified and maybe just pitched out of the stretch or at least cut some of his movement down in his windup. So take that for what it's worth. So I'd consider streaming him for his start on Friday, like I said, versus the Rockies. Guaranteed rate field there in Chicago. It's in the middle of the pack there for park factors, but it skews slightly towards pitcher's favor. And now Colorado, they've been pretty good last 15 days if you watch them, but that's really been attributed to this 10-game homestand they've been on because Colorado is a completely different team on the road. They have a 759 OPS at home, 7th in the league. When they go on the road, just 25th in the league. Runs scored at home is 8th in the league. Runs scored on the road, 25th in the league. They strike out more. They walk less on the road than home. They hit less home runs on the road. Obviously, I think you get the point, right? So he's a good option if you need somebody. This is a name that I am definitely watching for next season for draft season, and I suggest you do too.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, one more pitcher, another streamer. How about it? This dual eligible hurler for the Reds took a no-hitter into the 7th against the Rockies on June 4th, but he has struggled in his last 2 starts since then. Matt, how can Frankie Montas right the ship this week?
Frankie Montas. So he's got 1 start at St. Louis, and like Lance Lynn, if this start was in Cincinnati, it would be a no-go.
No.
The Cardinals, they're a middling offense at best with plenty of strikeouts, not much power, and the second fewest walks in the NL over the past couple of weeks. Montas, his season-long numbers aren't terrible, and I understand that's what an amazing endorsement, right?
Yeah.
Across 13 starts, he's 3-5 with an ERA a little north of 4.5. His expected ERA and xFIP are right there around there too. A 1.3 WHIP. 49 strikeouts, 26 walks across 60 1/3. The whip is high, obviously, and it's driven by the highest walk rate of his career over a full season. He's pushing 4 per 9, which is no bueno. He strikes out. His strikeouts are also down for him. 18.5% is roughly 5 points below his career average. His whiff rate is in the bottom third of the league. Swinging strike rates in that same general area as well. He is, however, throwing first pitch strikes at a career high 64.2% rate, and that's 2 points better than league average. So he is working on getting ahead early in the count, and that's really one of the fundamental keys to success for any pitcher. His quality of contact is pretty damn good. Exit velocity and hard hit rate, they're about average, but his 5.9% barrel rate puts him in the top 25% of the league. His overall contact is fine. He's about 2 points higher than average across the board, but none of that is really concerning. Pretty much consider that margin of error or, year over year variance. His batted ball data, fly ball rates, a couple points above average, ground ball rates, a couple points below, line drive rate, right around average. You figure out he's mostly a league average pitcher yet.
Yep.
So he's gone at least 5 innings in 5 of his last 6 starts, and he's keeping the ball in the yard. And that's really one of the fundamental tenets of being a successful pitcher. Limit your walks, keep the ball in the yard, get a strikeout when you need it. I don't need a guy to strike out 10 per 9. I just need to know you can get one when you have to have it. Though his overall strikeouts are down, he's gotten 5 or more in 3 of his last 4 starts, including 9 at Colorado a couple starts ago in the start you referenced. So, there is some upside there. And when you're looking for streamers, not only are you looking for, somebody who you think can do well, but you also want to find teams that you want to attack, especially if you can find some offenses that are struggling and striking out, and the Cardinals just do not walk. And so that's going to help Montas because his walks are a bit high. If you've got a team that is not interested in the free pass, that's going to benefit him. Now, granted, generally good shit happens when you put the ball in play, and Cincinnati's defense, look, nobody is going to mistake them for an elite defense, but if he can induce some weak contact, we know Cincinnati can score runs. Granted, like I said earlier, they're slumping a little bit, but when you're talking about a 1-game sample size, anything can happen. I'm going to bet on him to go at least 5 against St. Louis and maybe get me 5 strikeouts with a decent shot at a quality start and maybe even a win.
Yeah, I like it. Some good options this week. Some good options. Matt's on the road this week. I know you've got to be very excited to get back home tomorrow.
Oh, dude. Yeah. And then it's right back on the road the week after that and the week after that. So,
well, awesome. So we'll be seeing you with hotel room backgrounds pretty frequently.
Yes.
Then.
Yes.
So
Although hopefully these next couple times, maybe I can upgrade from this, deluxe 2-star accommodations here.
Put you in a bad one this time, eh?
Yeah, it is. Next Tuesday, though, that's a big episode for us. That's going to mark our 100th episode. I know a lot of you out there may not give 2 shits, but that's a big milestone for us. We've been at this for a little bit over a year, and, we might celebrate a little bit. And Sunday's also a big day, isn't it, Kyle?
Yes, it is. We'll be doing a live stream this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern. In fact, let me put the so we have a fantasy football channel. I just put it in the chat, the link for that. Make sure you go to that, like and subscribe. Again, we'll be there Sunday night talking about fantasy football coming up for this season. Some OTAs just happened recently and stuff. We'll probably touch on some of that, some of the rookies that got drafted, see who might help, who might not. It should be fun for sure. So that's a wrap on 2-start pitchers and streamers for the week of let's see, what is that, June 24th. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are on the march to 500 and we need your help getting there, folks. So give us some help in that respect. 2-start rankings are available at stonedonsportspodcast.com. They're there for you to check out. We're available on Spotify, Apple, and more. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great evening. Stay stoned.